You join me in a very, very poorly lit basement cellar, of which I am going to need lots of space to deal with this headlining. Now, the one thing that you need to start off with is by getting rid of the foam. Whatever foam is left, it needs to be got rid of. I mean, this is just coming off so easy. It is like gluey and tacky still, because obviously this is what bonds the actual headlining to the actual it's actually fiberglass, the fiberglass backing board. The backing board looks okay actually, but what we're going to do is just scrape off all this old foam. It's going to take quite a long time actually, I suspect, if we're going to be thorough. And then I'm probably going to wash it off. What I have used in the past to get rid of material is brake cleaner, believe it or not. It's actually really good for getting off like sticky gluey material. So I might use some of that. We might use some hot soapy water just to get rid of the base and make sure it's all nice and clean and dry. This is half the issue of why your headlining sags. The actual headlining uses the foam as the actual support to hold it up. Now, what a lot of people do, and this is a bad mistake, is people think they can just reattach the old headlining by just putting contact cleaner straight onto the foam that is basically given up. And all that's going to happen as soon as you get a change in climate, like severe hot weather or cold weather, it's just going to sag. It's terrible. You don't want to do that. You've got to start from scratch. So I will be getting some headline material very close to the spec. I think Woolies or Martins. I think there's a few manufacturers who've basically got a load of colours, but I'm going to go with an OEM colour. It's going to be bonded really nicely with lots of contact spray. This is where I'm going to have to do the job because, quite frankly, the weather is disgusting outside. So we're just going to get on and scrape this down. Let's just use any sort of scraper, any form of scraper will do this job really simply. Woo. Coming off in great chunks, and that's what you want. You want clear board, but the board is still tacky. You want to get rid of that tackiness, and we're going to do that with either brake cleaner or hot soapy wash. So I'm just going to do the whole board. I mean, if I just show you this, this is literally how much it comes off. I'm sorry for the focusing on the camera. I suspect it's the quality of light in here. It's causing the camera to go in and out quite a bit, but I'm basically going to just scrape this back and we'll go to the next stage. Right, now I've got to the point where most of it has actually been taken off the board. I would recommend using one of these if you've got one, because these are great for like cleaning like upholstery or carpets. Just that it's a cheap like brass wire brush, but it's just enough to actually brush this stuff off the board quite nicely. But literally, you can actually see a lot of it is actually just embedded, so we will need hot soapy water, but this will get the rest of it off really nicely. See, most of that's it's not even, there's not much left on there. Right, I know it doesn't look like it in this section, but it is absolutely scrubbed down. I think this is excess glue. I've got a feeling that someone has tried to glue that headlining back on. I don't know why, but that is excessive glue in this area. And this is the main area where it was sagging. But we're going to do the famous Maguire's bucket, hot water, and a scourer, an old kitchen scourer, and it will literally just, we're going to wash it all off now. Just rub it straight on. And need a bit more than that, Andrew. Don't be so. There we go. This is merely to break the bond of the glue, to be honest with you, and make sure that it is absolutely, there's absolutely remnants on there. I have got the brush just in case, and you'll go back over with the wire brush. It's just to make sure that this surface is really good. Again, I'll probably get some white spirit just to be on the safe side. You see, it's just moving all the remnants off. We're just agitating at the moment. You can see that the bond is starting to be broken. I mean, that is a lot cleaner. The scour's got in, and we're just going to keep putting this back in. These are brilliant, absolutely brilliant for these sort of jobs. That is really coming back. I mean, you want to see, that's what you want to see. And we're going to go over the whole board until all this is removed. Now, that took 15 minutes of scrubbing. We'll just push that off. There we go. And it is looking much better. Clearly, I have been walking on it, which is not good. But I've got to go over it again. Some more hot water, because that's now cold and filthy. We've got to go do another wash until I'm quite happy with it. So we'll keep going with this. And there we are. One clean, even though it's sopping wet, headlining, backing board, I should say, the backing board. In the area over here, it's a little bit more, some of the fiberglass has been disturbed a little bit, but it won't, I don't think it will affect the adhesion when we come to putting the new headlining on. There's a couple of areas I'll just go over, but I'm just going to dry it up, bring it into my flat to dry it with the dehumidifier on. And I might actually have to clean up the back of it because it's a bit dirty from lying on the floor. Obviously, it's not the cleanest of basement cellars as usual, but at least I do have this facility. I think the next video, I'm going to do this as a series. So the next video will be of me getting the headlining and trying to glue it on and hopefully being successful. So cut to then. And you've been fast forwarded about 2 to 3 weeks. I've had so many jobs on the go, it's untrue, but this was ordered a few days ago and it's just come. This is oatmeal, the correct colour for a Rover 45 headlining. This is absolutely what was on the car before. Now I'll just show you this. This is the foam underneath. So you see the layer of material, then you've got the foam backing. Now the foam is what basically binds it to the backing board. And that is basically something that Rovers and Jaguars really badly suffer from. I mean, all cars can have saggy headlining, but the quality of the foam really does make a difference. And I suspect the quality of the foam on Rovers and Jags and quite a few other cars that have suffered from saggy headlinings have the quality issues with the foam itself. But this is really good. I hope the camera is actually picking this up really nicely. That is precisely what was on the car before. So basically I'm going to lay this out on the floor. I'm going to do it in my flat. Yeah, I'm going to have to get all this out here. I can't do it downstairs in the basement. It's just too dirty. I've got to control the dust because I don't want getting this dirty while we do it. We've got 2 cans of contact adhesive because we're going to need that many. I've still got some of my own, so we've got plenty. Be liberal. I expect to use 2 full cans of this high performance contact adhesive. Martrim, by the way, is the name of this company. They do a lot of headlining stuff, and if you're in the market for a Rover 25 or 45 headlining, because they do tend to go, or even Rover 75, oatmeal is the one you go for. That's the shade if you want it correct to the OEM colour, and this is pretty much bang on. And they do sell their own contact adhesive, which obviously being an upholstery supplier, I looked into this and I actually got these cheaper than anywhere else online. Usually these are about £5.50, £6 a bottle, but I bought both of these for about £9.50. So, you know, it makes sense. Just get it all in one package to save deliveries. Right, let's see if I can sort of work out. I'm actually going to use this material that they use for the packaging because this might be quite useful. Right, now I've actually made the setup, which is basically using the packaging material, which is quite nicely laid out, and it keeps the actual headboard clean, particularly when we come to the second stage of turning it over and cutting everything, you know, that has to go through, like the square hole for the interior light and all the little holes for the handle rail bolts. So obviously that will be the second stage, but the first stage, obviously we've prepped the headlining, we've cleaned it up, as best as we can. We've removed every single trace of the old foam. That is so important, because if you leave any of the glues in place, basically you're asking that glue to stick on top of the old glue and to stick that to the new head lining. Well, what if the old glue underneath gives up? Well, the whole thing's going to sag, isn't it? Because that's the bond. You're bonding new glue to the old glue to the backing board. Where if the old glue lets go, that's what's going to happen. So we've got a couple of tools to start off with. Very simple: scissors, cutting knife, gloves, and white spirit. Because if we have any overspray of this stuff onto things we don't want it going on, because it's amazing stuff, contact adhesive, but my God, you really have to be careful. I'm going to have to change my overalls because I'm hardly wearing correct attire for this, particularly if things get a bit messy. I am literally going to do it by hand. Now, to be honest with you, some people say, well, why don't you use a roller? You could use a roller, you could use many different things, but in this case, I'm going to use the palm of my hand. And I've seen this done by so many auto upholstery people when they're doing headlining. It depends how the headlining is. And to be fair, this bit is going to be the difficult bit. And what I'm going to start off with is going from the back of the headlining to the front, because starting at this side is actually going to be really, really tricky, particularly with all these curves and angles. So I want to get a good base first. But the first thing I need to do is remove all this, and I need to cut that headlining to suit. Now, I've ordered 2 meters of this stuff, but that's way more than enough. So I'm going to cut as much. Well, I'm going to be generous with what I give along the edges, because you want to give too much, not too little. But we want to try and conserve as much waste as possible. This is expensive. This is, quite expensive stuff, so I don't want to get it wrong. So we'll crack on. I will put you on the tripod, which is just sitting there. I will try and give you as better views as I can, but you have to appreciate, one, this is a job where I'm going to have to concentrate on exactly what I'm doing. So forgive me if I lose the camera angle or I start losing focus on what you guys are seeing, because this is just one of them jobs where you don't want to get air bubbles. So we'll crack on and see how we go. Now we need to go from the length of this. So let's just go from this side, unravel it very, very slowly. It's already looking good. Right, now I've laid it down, I mean, this is the edge. That is the edge. I mean, we've got a generous amount on the sides. We've got way too much. I might just actually pull that in, because, I don't mind bits of headline material hanging around. You never know when you might need some offcuts, but I've got quite a bit of generous amount here, to be honest with you. I hope well, maybe I didn't need to order 2 meters, but you never know. At least if I get it wrong, I can cut all this out and pretend that I ordered 1 meter. I might do that. No, kidding. This is the back of it, and you just got to make a mark. Remember, just push it. I'd just push it down to make sure that you have definitely got enough material and you're not cutting too much. Just cut a bit more than what you need. So what I'm going to do, get the scissors, I'm just going to cut just along here, there. So it gives like that much all the way around. Now, that's too much to some people, but you don't want to be doing too less again. Again, what I've done is I've just pulled it to the side after making that cut. So the rest of the material is over there now, and I'm just going to cut an excess of probably this much. I mean, this material isn't going to do anything, but at the end of the day, I can actually just put this in the, I don't know, the spare material box of mine. But I don't want to waste material like this. And it's, as I say, you just need to cut probably that much away from the edge, because we're going to be bending this back over. Okay, I do apologise if my camera keeps on going in and out of focus. I think it's the light in here. I mean, I've tried to make it as light as possible for my video because darkness is an issue in many of my videos recently. We seem to be having bad light outside, bad light inside, bad light everywhere. But now we've got a nice little bit of material now. What I'm going to suggest, there are several ways that you can stick a headlining on. I've seen people start from one edge and roll over. That was my initial intention. Now I'm thinking, now I'm actually here and I can see what I've got to work with. It's a big piece of material and I probably underestimated actually how much I've got to roll it because I don't have the space to actually roll it back enough. So what I'm possibly going to do is I'm going to whip it in half and go halfway, because I know that that material is big enough for the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is put contact adhesive on one side of that and one on there. I mean, some people just go, if you've got contact adhesive on that side and a thorough coating, then you'll be fine. But I prefer, some people say do both, and I prefer to do both because it's a little bit more thorough, and you've got to be very, very thorough when you're spraying. Now, I would say those holes for those two clips, those beige clips, I would say they are exactly in the middle, halfway down through this headlining, pretty much, give or take. And that's where we start. So I start doing a bead across there and keep going backwards and forwards. I'll try and get it as lined up as I possibly can. So yeah, we're going to just do backwards and forwards movements, exactly like you mow in the garden. No, that's not a good one. Well, maybe it is. Right, there we go. So I've got my brake clean at the ready, just in case anything goes wrong. And it would help if I actually had contact adhesive spray. Now, anybody who's used this will know how quickly it goes off. So, as I say, spray it on the headlining, push it down. I'm not going to go over the whole of the headlining on the foam, because remember, some of it is excess. I'm not wanting to put glue on anything that doesn't need to be stuck down. So we concentrate on what goes on here and then do a light coating on there. That way we've got it on both surfaces, one very thoroughly and one a little bit, but that will be fine. Well, that's unusual. I've just taken the cap off this contact adhesive. The nozzle's missing. No, it's not. It's glued to the inside of the cap. Why do they do that? I've never known anybody to do that. Well, that's weird. Yeah, oh yes, that's fitting nice. So, right, lovely. Just wanted to test that out. Now, obviously, I'm wearing gloves, but it could get a bit messy on that side of things. So, that's a good idea. Drop the nozzle. The actual action is quite a nice spray pattern. Okay, it's gone off. Now we need to start kneading, and this is where I'm going to have to use my knee pad, which is another bit of upholstery. Just using my hand to work it backwards, keeping an eye on what's going on that side. Really important. If there's any air bubbles, work it out very, very slowly. Now, what I'm going to do is that's a risky That's a risky move, Andrew. Oh, look what we've got here. We've got an air bubble. Let's move it out just a little bit. Got you. There we go. Just gives you a bit of time. Just work it back just a little bit. It's really hard work, this is. Get on my knee pad, excuse me. This is where this bit of material comes in use. Whoops, we've got a bit of an air bubble going on around the corner. Just keep peeling it back up. Well, that could be where a hole is, that's why. You can see a little mark where my finger is. Maybe not. The camera won't pick it up. This is really stressful work. You really have to concentrate, because otherwise it starts getting out of hand. Oh, that's coming new. Just put my knees on that, just so I don't get the new lining dirty. Just keep going along the edges. Now the edges will be covered by the trim. Now some of this will be picked up on camera, but that bit, it's the contour of the actual headlining. But you see bits like this that hasn't. Go away. See this bit, if I just unravel it carefully, has not stuck. The rest of it has. This is the bit you concentrate on. Trust me, I'm really concentrating. You know, this is one of them jobs where one false move and you've got a headlining that you're going to be looking at thinking, I should have got that bubble out. This could be the case here, but I could live with one or two. We'll see. Now we've got to do the other side. So if we pull this back, go as far as we can. Oh, it looks like I actually went over with the glue there. Now the problem is, I've actually made a bit of a boo-boo about that. I've got to pull that back just gently, because what you don't want is, when you're doing like 50-50, you don't want an area in the middle where you've not covered in glue. You've missed from both sides, from both directions. So I might have to go, yeah, I can see where the glue actually starts. So here we go. Start again. Just go from where the glue, basically where it's bonded to the glue. So it goes back. Unfortunately, I might have glued it a bit too far on this side. I'm going to have to pull that back up, and I might have to get that level. Gosh, like spiders' webs everywhere. You really need to cover everything. Big furrow. Use plenty. I won't worry about this because we'll go over this side later on. Just concentrate on the edges and in here. A lot. See, I'd have missed that bit. Just have to do the kneeling exercise. So if I just come in here we go, from behind. Okay, this is where you have to be quick and thorough. Push it right to the edges very quickly, otherwise you're going to die. Now there's a bit of a hump here, so I've got to get it to go like that. That is where it gets a bit tricky. Hopefully it will move. Yeah, it has. There's a bit of a, oh no, that's not a bubble, that's a blooming that's the interior alarm sensor. Now what you need to do also is just stand back, have a look. Can we see anything? I think I've trapped some dirt there. I don't know how that's happened. I'll pick that out in a bit very gently. Always seem to get a bit of dirt. Anything with oatmeal headlining, it will show every single imperfection at the moment because it's new. Right. On. Just missed a bit. So try to. As I say, you'll know instantly where it's not embedded. Just got to be careful on the corners, just like this, because they can easily crease. Now that is the natural contour. As I say, you've got to make sure what's a crease and what's a contour. That's the natural contour of the headlining. Oops. Does that feel like a... Yeah, that's actually surfaced quite nicely. With these bends here, you can stretch it too much. So the surface is like, it's like that. It's like a curve, but your material is like that. And I'm pushing on it and I'm feeling a bit of a gap. But in this case, I think it's just the foam taking up the actual gap. That, for me, looks okay. That doesn't look bad whatsoever. Okay, that's quite a bit that hasn't adhered there. So we're going to go back round here. Crease around that. And this is the result after another 15 minutes. It didn't take too long, but we're at the easy stage. Now, unfortunately, I made the error. There was a tiny bit of glue here, which I just cleaned up, which is why it's a bit, it looks dirty, but that's only because it's drying. I've had to punch a hole here, which is through the interior light anyway. We've got to cut this anyway, just to make sure that I could get a bit of free play in this ridge, because I wasn't quite happy with the way actually, it wasn't sort of flush as such, but it does look a lot better on camera than what it did. But there's some ridges here, which obviously they're just for various items. There's this bit here, which some dirt. How's that gone in there? I was really annoyed. But apart from that, it seems to be okay. There's a slight one there, but I mean, there's a slight one. In fact, there's a couple of places there I'm actually not happy with at all. So I'm going to go back over there and iron that out. But some creases do tend to iron themselves out naturally as the actual material settles. So I'm going to let that be. But that's not a bad try actually for a first attempt, and I do not expect perfect results. And it takes trained people a long time to do this job efficiently and with perfect results. So I'm not expecting a perfect result, but I'm expecting a near perfect, and that's what I'm aiming for, considering the state of the headlining from what it was, like a sagging tent. Now, what we're looking for here, and you can see the edge where the glue is embedded, and I've made sure the glue goes right to the edge. We're looking about that much. Don't really put any more material on it than that. We're looking for like probably an inch. Give an inch all the way around the edge, and then you're finished with the trimming. So go around and we will press on the next stage. Right, we've actually cut all the way around just so that we can get the actual material bent round. It's all nice and good, and it's looking pretty decent. I don't know if the camera's picking this up. A couple of bits there, well, I'm not quite as happy, but you know something, you really aren't going to see too much. I was a bit annoyed about this bit. I don't think that's quite gone down as much as what I would like. But you've got to face facts that this is part of the actual visor. In fact, the camera is showing it to be really bad, and it doesn't look that bad to me. You can actually see more shadows on the camera. But yeah, again, this bit, you know, it's gone in quite nicely. I can feel that's pressed down. As long as you can feel it's pressed down, like I said before, where you got that angle and then you got the curve, and it could be sometimes too taut. Anyway, I'm going to flip this over now, and then I'm going to start putting the holes in, and we're going to start bending the material back over, gluing it. We're just going to do all the little holes in the hatches first, and then we can glue the outside. So start and work your way in. Just back over and turn it. Right. Okie dokie. Right, we've got the back side. So basically what we're going to do is put a hole. We've already got a hole in here. We need to put the holes through for the sun visor. For some reason, that's 2 holes, but the one further up is like a whole slot. I don't get that. I don't get that at all, but I'm not going to mess around with it. I'm going to keep it exactly as it was. You know, I'm not messing with bits like that. And then we've got that, which is your arterial alarm sensor. So I'm just going to put a little bead through, not too much. You just want to sort of cut just enough so you can bend the material back over, and that's it really. We're not going to be faffing around. These ones probably need just a prick, just get a pair of scissors and prick through from this side. Don't do it from the other side, because you could, if you did it from the other side, you could actually miss the whole thing entirely, and then you're in trouble. Say if you caught it on the side and then you've got a bit of a hole where you can actually see where the handle goes through. I've got to be honest with you, I don't think you'd necessarily see that part, because the trim of the handle would cover it. But nevertheless, you want to go and do it as properly, as far to the edge as you possibly can. So, get a nice hole. Yeah, okay. And then what you do is you just cut a slot. Okay, you can go right to the edge, because again, you know, like I said, this is being covered. So just gonna slit it there, and then literally you've got this opening. That looks really rude actually. Yeah, that doesn't look very good at all. But yeah, so I would say, because the actual trim is going to cover that, I wouldn't actually worry about gluing something like that, because the trim will go over and it will basically cover that piece. Again, I would do the same for every single one of them. I would just slit them so that they're open, so that the screws can actually go through. But there's no point in actually gluing that on at all, because there's nothing much to glue onto the back of it. It won't actually come round the corner. I didn't really think about this before I actually started doing it, but then again, it just seems rather logical that that's the way it would be. I believe the original headline had all this cut out, so it would have probably been done properly. This, I'm just going to go straight in there with a knife. God, this feels so wrong. What I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to cut a little bit of a hatch there, and again, I don't think that needs to be looked at. There's actually a bit around here that isn't glued on properly. That's not good. I'm going to have to go back round with the glue. So these are the bits where you need to get it glued down properly, because look, I can get my finger in there. That is no good. That is no good at all. In fact, I'm a bit concerned that I've missed. Okay, it's only a little bit, but I'm going to have to shoot some glue straight in here. Lovely. Just to make it a big enough hole, just. And we're left with Monsieur. To be honest with you, the interior trim will cover probably about half a centimetre of the extremity. But what I'm going to do is just cut with the scissors, going that way, and we're just going to cut a square nice and equally. We're going to probably cut to about here, and then we can fold the rest in. And you end up with this. So basically, what the biggest tip I'll give you, don't worry about how equal the square is. This is just the offcuts that are going to go this way. What I would say is make sure you cut, when you're cutting into the corners, right, you cut right to the actual edge, because if you don't, you're going to end up with this, it's going to not actually be square against the housing. It's going to go sideways. But with cutting it like there, see what I mean? The corner is flush. It's a nice corner, whereas it wouldn't be a corner if you didn't cut all the way to the edge. So I'm just going to put some light adhesive here to make sure that we don't go to the other side, because we've done that before with another piece, the piece earlier that I showed you that I had to clean off with white spirit. But we're going to push this back. Unfortunately, I have spotted a couple of bubbles that I completely missed. One is right in the blimmin' centre, but you know what, I can live with it. It's one. I think there's a second one, but honestly, it's not bad at all. So I'm just going to glue that, and we're going to turn it, well, no, we're going to glue that, and then we've got to glue the outside. So I'll sort that out. You know, all you got to do is put a bit of glue around the side and just fold it over. Obviously make sure that the fold doesn't come near this. If there is too much material, cut it off again before you do this. But I'm just going to go around and glue all around the edge, fold it back in, and then turn it over. Makes me think of paper origami, this. I do think that this is the fiddly part of the process that you wouldn't normally think, that would take no time at all. No, it doesn't. It does actually, it is a time consuming part. And I'm just going to cut into that, because that piece will just be bent up. There we go. And say, it doesn't matter what it looks like on this side. You might have to cut some triangles out like I am, so it doesn't sort of bubble up too much. Right, okay, I think I'm just going to go around and just double check a few corners, but I think that is it for this side. We're just going to have to see how it looks on the other side, but there we get there. Are you admiring my little nice square? Because I think this thing, the interior alarm clips in to that, so I might have to rethink that idea, but it could be something I have to do when it's actually, I won't really see how all this looks when it's actually, before it's in situ. When it's in situ and I can see how parts go through it and clip in, then I shall kind of know how good a job I've just done. But since I did it myself, I think I did a good job. And you know what? That's what this channel is all about. Having a go yourself. Even if the end result isn't brilliant. I've got to be honest with you, if I was to describe myself, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I don't think I'm a master of anything in particular, but I have a go at everything. And if you try and try, I can get pretty good when I try things, and you get a long way by trying. The first few times you might try something, it's absolutely rubbish, because you need practice, and this is one of them examples. Headlight, auto upholsterers, you know, anything to do with car upholstery. I mean, the leather seats in the Focus, they needed the stitches doing on the cover. Now that's an auto upholsterer job, but it's a seat cover off job. There's no way that an auto upholsterer would have done the same level of work as me. And I've got to be honest with you, I did as good a job as an auto upholsterer in that example. I did the stitching and it was the correct shade, etc. I think there's too many examples where you take them to a specialist and they do such a bad job, you think I could have done that myself. And that is exactly why I got into working on cars by myself, because I'm sick and tired of garages fobbing people off and ripping people off and doing jobs that you can do better. Seriously. I think there is a natural skill shortage at the moment, particularly in the car trade. I don't necessarily think mechanics are trained to a very high standard these days. I think they're more trained in electronics. That's the way things are going. But the mechanical side, the problem solving side, I don't think they teach the kids this in college, to learn how to solve problems without using a scanner as an all-reliant tool. Again, you know, trades like auto upholstery, body shops for paint and welding, finding a good place for all this stuff is getting harder. And the more that you can learn about how to do this sort of stuff, even simple little trim jobs, it helps. This is the biggest upholstery job I've done on any car, and it doesn't look amazing, but it looks better than what was on there in the first place, and it didn't cost a fortune because I did it myself. In total, 2 meters of that headlining, 30 quid. That brash wire brush to brush off the foam, you know, 5 quid, something stupid like that. And the contact adhesive, I've only used just over a can. That might be a bad thing in the summer if it starts peeling off the ceiling again, but I don't think it will. Touch wood on that. But I used a lot of adhesive there. There's some areas I'm not quite happy with, but I think there's enough strength in 95% of it that that wouldn't be a problem. And I mean, that was like 10 quid for 2 cans, and I got plenty of material left over, and I've got headline material for bits of trim or offcuts or whatever. So we're looking at £40 for doing it yourself. Take that to an auto upholsterer. This job could easily be 300. The hours you spend getting it right, and the customer will want it to be right. If I took this to an auto upholsterer, if I saw some of them creases, I'd be like, hang on, I'm paying how much? Look at what you've done. That's not good enough. But because I've done it, I can accept the imperfections, and that's what you have to accept when you work on your own car. I want the best. I want there's no imperfections at all. But honestly, my skills in the auto upholstery side of things are not there yet, and neither were yours. It's as simple as that. But have a go. If your headlining's dropping, whatever car it is, you can take it out, and the process is exactly the same as this. So I'm going to leave this episode here because it's finished. It is done as it is. I might just need to do a few tweaks off camera once I shut the camera off now. But I'm just going to clean up now. And the next episode will be of me refitting the thing and seeing how good it looks when it's up in the air. So I will see you guys very soon. Take care. I hope this video again has been useful to some people and has highlighted the need. You can do this yourself. Honestly, just make space. And if you're doing this at home, make sure your missus is out. Top tip. See you in a bit, guys. Take care.